call to order the regular meeting of the Leominster Conservation Commission for January 8th, 2019. On our regular meeting, first thing is certificates of compliance. DEP file number 199-1069-567 Pierce. That obviously we're waiting on growth, so
waiting for the spring.
Pushing it till the springtime. Second, DEP file number 199-779, 392 Central Street. What is that property?
So you may remember the property did come before us when I first started in March. Looks like there was an older file, DEP number 199799.
Okay.
That was issued to John Mazzafaro, who unfortunately has passed. And people handling his estate, there was a large sum of money that was withheld, from my understanding, that it requires them to close out the certificate of compliance for the site.
Okay. This is the site we're talking about today.
That's the
That's the same site.
If you can, I can give you a
Yeah. Sure.
Anthony, please, Whitman and Bingham. The attorneys for the estate of John Mazzafaro came to our office last month and said, hey, can you help us out and get a certificate of compliance for the property at 392 Central Street? I looked at them puzzled, and I said, oh, well, we just permitted a project there. We were unaware that there was one. I think during that process, the commission actually looked to see if there was any orders, and there wasn't anything. But come to find out, there was an outstanding order of conditions back in 2004 done by Romano Engineering, which is the other plan there. So that's the plan that the notice of intent and order of conditions referred to. I went through the NOI, went through the plan. As best as I can tell, the nature of the project was to excavate 1 to 2 feet of topsoil and then replace that with ordinary borrow. And that was the nature of the project. And then it actually occurred in that area that the commission that we discussed during the most recent permitting, where it was determined maybe some wetland filling could have occurred, and you asked the applicant to actually take all that material out. So that's actually where the previous permit was for. Was for that area. And so as I explained in my letter, to kind of, for future people looking at this file, is that, you know, couldn't tell if the work was ever done, if it was done correctly or not, because the new work has superseded that and taken all the material out of that area. So on the request of compliance, we checked the box for work never done. Tough to verify if it was ever done, because what's been done now completely superseded that. So it really seemed to be more administrative, kind of closing that out. Unfortunately, we weren't aware of it at the time. We would have taken care of that during that the most recent order of conditions for the current property owner. So you're trying to, I try to do it myself. You see exactly where it was. You have that angle in the property line. It's a nice reference for me, and that's that angle there.
Oh,
so essentially,
oh, this is this right here. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, that area that we discussed about previously disturbed area, that's where this disturbed under this owner. Yes. Don't know if the work was done.
So something must have been done though, because the topology is completely different than where it was from here to here. So, like this whole area.
No, it was.
Well, because the buffer zone is here, which would have put it. Which would have put it like here.
So you can't compare buffer zones to buffer zones.
Yeah, no. I mean,
so I think if you want to try to compare plans to plans, use this property line, and then this literally sits right here.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, tough to say what work was done, if at all. I was looking at it, like, I spent some time trying to figure out, and I'm like, why does it even matter?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, it looks like there's more wetland than there was before, is my point. Not less. It's almost like there's more wetland.
Now.
No.
No?
Not according to this plan. According to this plan, there was no wetlands here.
Right, but I'm saying there is now. That's what I'm saying. It's almost like...
What was flagged here was the area that when we walked in with the commission, we determined a potential area that had been previously disturbed. So there was no record of ever wetlands being there on the plan. And that was the discussion on the previous and the most recent. It was just interesting seeing this plan where it had already been before the commission, and this area that was extensively discussed recently, there's actually an order of conditions on it, but it doesn't matter. So we're just kind of looking to administrative to kind of close that out, because it really doesn't seem like it applies anymore.
Makes sense now. So that's probably why it looked like it looked, because it probably was disturbed back, whatever, but at this point,
it may have been just because it's, at the time of this, it shows a tree clearing
right.
as an existing condition. So it was probably disturbed even prior to this plan.
Yeah.
You know, which, as I've talked to people, it doesn't surprise me, the history of that property. I think
Yeah, that was
previous
kind of a mess for a long time.
owners, they would,
Okay.
you know, kind of been some work going on there, so.
Okay. Any other questions?
What's the status of the current project there?
So I've been out there lately, but when last I was there, which was kind of end of the summer, they had completed all of the crushed concrete for the parking lot. They had loamed, they had seeded, they had excavated all of this area and seeded that. And actually, when I had a conversation with the property owner at that time, he was anxious to close it out, but we didn't submit a certificate of compliance because we needed to wait 2 growing seasons for that restored area. So I said, you know, really can't do anything because the commission's not going to be able to sign off until at least till next year. So pretty much boulders were put in, pretty much everything is done. Now we just need to make sure that it
I've been out
grows.
there multiple times,
Okay.
most recently on the 23rd of December.
Okay. Because I mean,
The site's looking really.
I've driven by, and I didn't go down to see this area, but everything else looks pretty
Yeah,
to
everything's
plan.
stable.
So.
They did add in a couple additional erosion control areas that, you know, are really helping out the area. It's very clean, stable site.
Okay.
I know, so I was very proactive, you know, to try and
Yeah, he was in my
coordinate
office.
with the conservation agent and everything, so.
So that area that we're talking about is
Is growing.
back to where we wanted it to be.
Yeah, because they did that first, as was kind of requested. That was the first thing they went after. And took all that material out and then, you know, tried to get that growing.
Okay. Comments, questions? Do I have a motion for certificate of compliance for 199-792, 392 Central Street?
No.
Was it, no?
199.
779, I'm sorry. 199-779.
Let me just double check.
That's
right.
what I have, yes.
Is that what you have too?
199-799.
Yep, 779.
I'll make a,
199-779.
I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 199-779, 392 Central Street.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your time, appreciate it.
Do we have any extension permits?
Not at this time.
Any new communications?
Not at this time.
Do you guys mind if I push enforcement up?
Not at all.
All right. 138 Old Tavern Road, DEP 199-876.
Yes, so I did receive the notice of intent for this property on the 28th. It was 1 day past the deadline for this meeting, so it will be on for the January 22nd meeting.
Okay.
And I did post it to the Google Docs file so everyone can view it.
Okay. That was that the driveway?
Yeah, the driveway crossing with the wetland on either side, and there's some breaches.
And the owner was here one night?
Yes.
Okay. All right, 723 Willard Street.
So I did reach out to KP Law on behalf of the commission. They are working on drafting a letter. They asked for the entire file, all the updates, so they can work that into the letter. And Mr. Van Beek is also here tonight as well. The letter that you guys have requested, you know, to see what the next steps were to get this done as soon as possible. And if we could put a lien on the property, or if we could take it out and charge it to the homeowner. that's what the KB law is looking into now.
Okay. Mr. Dandini, can you comment on
Yeah,
the
what I
status of
have-
this?
Just a picture. This was taken, I think, December 15th. All it really is just a picture showing that it's formed up, ready for concrete, which I believe in previous photos that Bill Hannigan had sent, that wasn't available. So
Okay.
I'm kind of doing the best that I can with the conditions of the time of the year
Okay.
to get that poured. That is my next step, is to pour the pad, and once that's poured, I don't know if I will be able to move the shed moving forward into these January, February, early March type of dates. However, right after that, my goal is to relocate the shed. Once it gets relocated, then I can proceed with the rest of what you're looking for.
Now, at one point, Mr. Hannigan mentioned that you wanted to do it when the ground's frozen so you can preserve as much of your back lawn as possible.
Yep. Which I realize, I do this for a living.
Right.
I'm not gonna preserve anything. I mean,
Okay.
I'm tearing it all up, you know, to
Okay.
do all this. I've already beat the crap out of it, you know. So
Okay.
it's something I have to, deal with as I move along.
Okay. So what is, obviously this has been kind of going on and a little bit of a thorn in our side, and I guess while you're standing right here, what is your, we'd like to put a date on this type of thing, is what we'd like to do.
Well,
You know, springtime is a tough time to say just the spring or just the summer.
no, I realize that. The spring
You know?
could be, beginning of March to the end of April. I mean, I've been dealing with those dates for many years now. I mean, to get everything done as you wish, I mean, even the fence work that I have to do, I can't anticipate getting that done, I would think, by the end of April. And even that might be, be realistic, even that, with where we live in New England, could not be true.
I think that's reasonable. Obviously we have weather conditions. If it snows in April again, we'll be.
Right.
I'm on the move. I'm proceeding with what you're looking for.
Because your plan obviously was to pour this, move the shed,
Yeah.
and then once the shed was out, you were going to remove
the rest
anything
of
else.
everything else.
And then you were going to fence in your backyard,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Okay. How long do you think that would take to do? Just, to
To
pour
do it?
slabs a day, to move a shed a day.
It is a day.
And I'm saying, you know what I mean?
But it's the guy that is working with me. Unfortunately, he can only do it on Saturdays. All right, and I chose him for all the right reasons, so that things get done the right way. Then after that, and unfortunately, there was a couple Saturdays we had Sterling Concrete ready to go. It was our will call. We had to cancel it because he had to stay at his own job. So these are the little incidentals that I'm stuck with as I continue to move along to give you what you're looking for.
Okay. All right. I think ideally, and commission members, you can speak up. We'd like to get that area that's disturbed growing as soon as we can get it. Whenever that April, May timeframe, whenever the growing season starts. So that's kind of the timeline that we're looking at. You
Yeah.
know, nothing's going to happen growing-wise between now and April 15th, give or take, plus or
Mhm.
minus. But if it pushes till May, June, July,
I don't want it to.
listen,
Honestly,
and that's when your business is going to be busy, and this is
I
not
want
going to
this
be a
over with
focus.
just as much as you do.
So,
I really do.
okay. All right.
So do you want me communicating with Jamie from now on, or
I
I
don't
was
know.
contacted by him today? So.
Yeah, that just happened through random conversation.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't. I want to be
Yeah,
sure.
it doesn't
Or
really
do you want me to
matter at this
contact you
point.
directly? Is that easier for you?
What's that?
Do you want me to contact you
Yeah, that would
directly?
be,
Okay.
yeah, that would be appropriate, yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
No?
Okay. All right,
Okay,
we're good.
All right?
We'll be in touch, and Angela will be in touch, and.
Yep. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So would you like me to talk to Tom Lane, just let him know that we've had contact and this is where we are?
I would definitely get it in writing somehow, some way.
Both writing.
You know, I mean, I would like it out tomorrow, but I mean, at this point, it's not gonna help the area until the spring, but I want it out by the spring.
Absolutely. I just want to make sure. I'll talk to Tom tomorrow and.
Guys, speak up. I know everybody's thoughts
Yeah.
on this, it's just, you know.
Yeah, we want the area to start growing back, you know?
Right, and that's why I was
Yeah.
saying, when someone says spring to me, sometimes people think March, sometimes people think it's
Yeah.
June 20th is still spring.
Do we know what was there as far as like vegetation? I mean, can you tell from previous maps?
I just want to plant what's indigenous
Right.
around it.
Yeah.
Right, well, I mean, were there like huge trees? I mean, do we want to, like, a few native trees put back, or are we just gonna let it grow back naturally?
Well, I mean, we have some aerials. I would see if there was any large trees.
But at the same time, I mean,
Yeah,
I think the
I
trees
believe
will
there
come in
was
time.
a
you know.
large tree cutting.
you know, it looked, from what I remember, that area
Oh, there's
seemed
no,
to be
there's
more
no
like
resource area there, so yeah. I think
shrubby-ish.
just letting it grow back is
Yeah.
fine. I'm thinking like wetland and stuff, but there's no resource area there whatsoever.
Right. So, I would definitely want,
To get in writing.
well, I definitely get it in writing, make sure he gets it, whether it's certified, registered, whether it's whatever. But I would definitely want a update. Again, speak up sooner than
Absolutely.
April 30th. You know, come March saying, yeah, the weather's looking okay, we're gonna,
And I
You know what I
was
mean, like-
contacted by Jeannie from Whitman and Bingham today about it. So
Okay.
that's why I was clarifying with him who I should be getting the update
I
from.
mean, like a monthly update, you know, like, hey, we got the, you know, the foundation
Yeah.
poured, or
Right.
milestones, hey, we got the foundation poured.
well, that's what I'm saying, like,
Yeah, just something that's going. I'll contact
You know.
Peter.
at this point, I'd like to say take it out tomorrow, but obviously that's not gonna happen. So, that's what I would do. Everybody good with that? Okay. 199 1036 Lock Drive.
At this time, I just left it on the agenda because they're still waiting for the occupancy permit. I'm gonna take it off after this meeting because they have met all the criteria in the enforcement order,
Okay.
so.
Because we were waiting on the stamp plan, was our last item,
Um,
wasn't it?
I believe we received it at the last meeting.
I wasn't here at the last meeting, that's why.
Okay, I was like.
That was the last thing that I remembered, but
Yeah,
I could
John.
be.
There was the foundation, right? This was the one with the foundation elevations and
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah. So it was,
And I did have a conversation with Mr. Xeris today, because he was wondering if we should file for a certificate of compliance, because they're getting their occupancy permit, because they aren't building the second building just yet. But they're hoping to have it finished built by July, and the permit doesn't expire until February 2020. So I told him that, you know, obviously not, because we just have to go through the whole NOI period again, unless there's any significant changes.
right.
Or if it's gonna go overdue, then just apply for the extension.
Okay.
Is that like what is this date? Is that,
Usually that's the date that they sign the plan, but that's.
that's 2016 would have been 3 years ago, the foundation wasn't in 3 years ago.
Right.
No, I must have got the wrong plan. I thought it was it is online on the Google Docs.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's just this one, the
That
last
might have been
day.
like the
Sorry, I had
original, one of the originals.
Set the plans there.
Yeah, so that,
Thought these were very
okay.
Yeah, usually.
We just want to make sure we have the right.
Yeah.
Usually when the PE, they sign it and they.
Well, that's what I thought, and that's when I
It's
saw
like
2016.
Notary stamp type
Yeah.
thing, so,
Yeah.
okay. Meeting minutes for November 13th, 2018. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
I don't believe we can vote on
We
the
can, oh, that's right,
Brad had
because
reviewed.
Mr. Stone was not here, so we'll leave that on until next meeting.
Are we able to leave it on? Does it have to be reviewed within 3 meetings or 30 days?
I don't know the rules.
I mean, I think, I mean, ultimately, I think if the commission doesn't approve it, if somebody requested it, it could still be provided to them, and
Okay.
like, it has to be
That's
made
what's
available,
careful, man.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And then we can do
Um,
the next one
How about the November 27, 2018 minutes? Everybody review them?
I did, I think I had a question on them, just wanted to double check.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see page numbers. Just before the extension permits, it's item Roman numeral 12 there. It says the lot next door, it should be the lot next door.
Oh, okay. What does it say?
It says a lot next door, S-T-O-R-E.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who types these up?
No, actually, I had a general question on that because there seem to be a number of typos like that on others. So I'm just wondering if anyone's proofreading these before we get them, or if we're
I
the
am
first
proofreading them.
Okay.
But sometimes like little things like that, it makes sense in my head, like the next door over, so I just.
Okay. All right. I
Probably
think that was
just
the only
that.
one I saw on that one.
Is that what happens, is our scribe writes them?
Yeah, so
sends
she
them
writes
to
it
you?
from the video
right.
provided, and sometimes it's not that easy to hear, I think.
Right,
And sometimes rip rap sounds like riff rap sometimes, and
right. And then you review them for completeness, for
yeah, but the best I
You know,
can,
the
for
best
if it's
you- right.
accurate.
accurate, and then you send it over.
Yeah, and I send it to you guys to review.
They seem to be a lot longer now, which doesn't help too.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's accurate.
Yeah, so when we get to that point, she's like, sure, store.
Yeah, story. Yeah, that's all I have.
So I have,
I'm sure I fix that.
do I have a motion to accept those meeting minutes with Mr. Stone's changes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes for 11/27/2018 with the changing of the word store to door under item 12.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? New business, policy sent out for review. What was that one?
I didn't read it
You're
yet.
in the Google Doc folder.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw the Google Doc, but I didn't read it yet.
I didn't read it, so.
Okay, so I'm just developing different policies, just making this easier, to produce the plastic coming into the office. For example, I get a notice of intent and it's binded. I have to typically unbind it, throw the binding out, scan it in, and I'm trying to do things like requesting e-copies, as well as, to just lessen the paper that's coming to the office. As I've been going through the files and reorganizing the file room, I'll find that there are 17 plans, the same plan set, nothing new, or there'll be 7 photocopies of the signature page, or 7 photocopies of the notice of intent, or I've found one that had 4 photocopies of the storm drainage analyst, and it's all the same, it's just they brought multiple copies and it's all got shoved into the file room.
Okay.
I'm just trying to go through that, and as well just to make things clear, so when people are applying, they don't have silly questions, but they don't know, just so they know what we're looking for. We're looking for engineer stamp plans, we're looking for, butter certification lists. And that kind of specifies exactly what we're looking for to make things easier for everyone.
Okay. I think I actually reviewed some of that, but I'll have to double check. Unfortunately, I've been on vacation for a little while.
I got a question for you CAD guys, since when we get these plans, they're always in black and white. like when they do things like wetland flags, I mean, when they're doing layers, aren't they usually in color?
When you do them in CAD, it's
So if
just
they,
more expensive to print them out, that's why they do them.
well, I know, I
Like,
mean,
but
7 copies.
I'm just, yeah,
If they provided a print, an 11 by 17, or even a PDF, color PDF, at least it'd be something, you know, it's just easier on the eyes when you're looking at, you know, something like this, it, you know, as an
Color
example.
PDF would work, and then they wouldn't have to.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm just,
yeah,
you know, every time I've done stuff, you do it, each layer is usually different color or
Yeah.
different whatever, you know. But-
because, I mean, we've even had people where the wetlands come shaded, you know, like the wetland area will be shaded like green, and, you know,
Yeah.
water's blue or whatever.
And I like that for the presentation purpose. I don't like looking at multicolored CAD drawings on paper. It just, it's a
That's
personal
something
thing.
we can not require, but we can request, you know, bring color CAD copy.
Yeah,
Well, when they're doing it here, that way when they're presenting to the public can see, you know,
Truthfully, I think even if you're looking at it from that point, and if you've looked at enough CAD drawings that just show all the different color layers, that's almost as hard to read as, if not more difficult than the black and white drawing.
yeah. Well, sometimes I'm like trying to like,
I think what you really want to see is basically those architectural renderings that show where everything is shaded, like you talked about.
right.
You know,
What pertains, I think it would be beneficial if the colored sections were what pertains to us.
yeah.
Because there might be 30 layers on here.
Right.
You probably don't want 30 different colors, but if, like you said, maybe it's
Highlight, you know,
just
highlight
the
erosion
wetlands
control.
and
highlight
erosion
the resource
control.
area, highlight the river zone or buffer zone, or
Right.
something like that, and just show, you know, a highlighted line for it, but all
Right.
those different CAD layer colors.
Yeah, no,
Right.
we don't need all of them, just the ones.
No, I
right,
think
the
what you're
pertinent
saying,
ones.
like this, you could say, okay, this is this. It might be 2 or 3 different colors and the rest black and white.
Yeah,
Anything can be done with those, it's just, that's usually why they do it, because it's cheaper. That's all. So,
What would it cost
We-
to take this and a digital copy,
right, absolutely.
right?
So,
yeah, so we spelled that out with what we were like in advance there.
yeah, okay.
And once you do it, I mean, they're gonna be, you know, the engineers are gonna be like, oh, this is Leominster, they just make sure we, you know, submit this version.
This way, yeah, okay. We can do that.
I'm sure, I know other towns do it, because, you know,
It can be done. They have the technology, so. I'll review those policies. New condition discussion. So it says the possibility of adding a condition that the applicant must get all other permits and special permits. What do you mean by this?
So for example, I've been in communication with other, you know, towns and cities, and one condition they have to kind of encourage inter-office communication
Right.
and working together between all the different departments and commissions would be if someone's doing work in a floodplain and they have to get a special permit for it through the planning board, that we know about it and we know when when it expires, and we put that in the order. So just to kind of support the other departments. I've seen a couple other commissions have different ways of wording it. It is it's very similar to the general condition number 3, which reads, you know, must obtain and comply with all other permits, something to that. But I was wondering if we could also put it on our boilerplate too, because what I'm finding, since I've been working on all the older files and I'm sending out all these orders conditions to people, no one really reads that this fine print blurb. They kind of skip straight down to the boilerplate that we put in. And that's not on our boilerplate that, you know, we require to comply with all other departments.
Prior
permits.
to coming to us, or just?
Nope, just, you know, not prior, someone would be prior, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of them
But-
come to us without getting planning board approval yet, or not, you know.
Yeah,
I guess
you know,
that's why I just wanted to.
I guess just, you know, that's why I wanted to discuss, you know, what we could do, because we have issues where our permits goes for 3 years, some permits only go for 1 year, and when those permits expire, they think they can still, that it kind of carries with ours. So maybe putting something in, you know, that, you know, we require that you obtain all, you know, special permits and other permits from other departments and supply a copy, or, I'm not sure, maybe Robert, Larry, or you guys have any other idea?
So
but-
that we know that they're all active still.
Yeah, or even just getting, like for example, the planning board will send out a letter to all the department heads when they have something coming before them for comments, so that when it goes before the planning board, they can put that in their conditions, like, you know, and the comments from DPW are, you know, make sure that you have, you know, who's gonna be clearing the detention basin, and who's gonna be responsible for snow plowing or snow storage. And I put, you know, like, for example, if it's jurisdictional, you know, to make sure that they get their permit from us. Something like that in the orders and conditions. But I know we follow a very specific set of rules, so it might be difficult, but.
I mean, I think it's a good idea, and I know you've had a lot of issues with getting building permits where it is jurisdictional, we didn't even know about it, and stuff like that, so I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah,
It's just, I don't know how politically or in City Hall how that works. and how
Everyone
we
seems pretty open to it. You know, I have a spot in the building application out for large site disturbances that, you know, they send to me to take a look at. You know, sometimes it's not jurisdictional at all,
Right,
but just so I know what's going on as well, because for stormwater reasons.
right.
And I wouldn't send it to, for example, I probably wouldn't send it to the wiring department, because it
Right.
usually wouldn't cross paths with someone like the floodplain manager, someone, you know, like the planning board, if it pertains to them.
Yeah, something like obtain and keep current, you know,
Mhm.
all, you know, other, you know, city and state
Yeah.
permits, something like that. There's gotta be a wording though, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling coming up
Yeah.
with.
there's gotta be somebody, maybe somebody in planning or something, might be able to, or somebody in the build, like, there's gotta be somebody in the city that's sort of like a good technical writer that could,
Right, write it up. Now, you'd want this in,
Just on the boilerplate.
just on our
Yeah,
boilerplate.
just because
another-
what I'm finding is people, even though it's their responsibility to read the general conditions as well,
They do.
a lot of time, or gets finer print, they kind of skip through, they go straight to the boilerplate to see this, you know, the special conditions.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with Larry if we could maybe have someone word it.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I'm not the wordsmith, so
Well,
I'm the wrong
that
guy
you
to.
guys, you know, be okay with having done,
Yeah.
or it's
and-
doable,
and-
you know, Brad.
I don't have an issue with it, I just don't think it's gonna have the desired effect that you're hoping for. You already mentioned it, people aren't reading the orders, and that's,
Kind of.
unfortunately, it's pretty common, so if that's what's happening, they're still gonna miss that special condition. I don't know of any really good way it's handled throughout the Commonwealth, other than when departments talk to each other. So you really just have to keep the communication open there. That's the only way that you're gonna make sure that everybody's seeing the same thing. You know, common problems in other municipalities is the planning board set doesn't even look close to what the Conservation Commission's getting, for instance. So just making sure that everybody has the same plans, for instance, you have to keep the dialogue going between each other. And that's difficult for boards to do, it's easier for municipal staff to do, because you're there day to day. And as far as requiring that they get other permits before us, for instance, you really can't, and the best way to do it is to do everything concurrently. And I can tell you the reason that they probably come to us first is because we're the cheapest. And it's more, you know, what's the filing fee for us for a house sometimes, $55 or whatever, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
let's see if Concom says yes before we go spend hundreds of thousands to planning board.
Right.
Or,
But I meant more like before,
Yeah.
you know, you start work, before
Right.
starting work, having all your permits in order.
yeah,
Yeah.
but ultimately there, I mean, we only enforce
Our
what's
jurisdiction.
ours.
Right. like-
So again, it falls back to, well, if they have something else, does theirs match ours? Yeah. And that's where a lot of times there's problems in municipalities, is somebody's got different sets, and they're usually only working off one of them.
because we can only condition what we can legally
What we can
enforce.
enforce,
Right.
Otherwise, we
right.
would be overstepping our.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not something that's
Really
bad to
doable.
have on there, I just don't
I don't see it
see how
being
effective
enforced.
it's gonna be. So I'm certainly not opposed to it, because it can only do more good than harm, but,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be this eye-opening problem solver for
Yeah.
what
Magic
might be
fairy
happening.
dust.
So, yeah, so I mean, come up with some wording, talk to somebody else and, you know, and we'll look at doing that along with, after the policies, and we'll, if we have to change the board, I know we just kind of went through that 6 months ago, but we can do that as soon as possible, as much as we want, so.
That's what I've just been working on, is like making general sets of conditions, you know, just working with other people, seeing what they have, you know, for
Yeah,
different sites. So for example, different dredging projects are gonna have different special conditions from, you know, building a bridge.
right. Okay. Old business, Moose Knock Brook, no update there, I'm assuming?
Not at this time.
Okay. Any emergency certifications?
None at this time?
Project updates, where we sit with Granite Street, 66 Granite.
So I spoke to Mr. Morrow today, and he did send an email as well, you know, letting me know that the woman who's working on the conservation plan should be finishing it by the end of the month. She's back at work after her medical issues, and she's hoping to have a synopsis. He's asked her for a synopsis for us, but it is something that is in the works, and they are working on getting it to us.
Okay. If you could, before the next meeting, contact Mr. Morrow and just mention, you know, we did talk about early November to have it in place, and it's now going to be end of January.
Yeah,
So
he does apologize. It was, you know, kind of out of his hand. And
I understand that, but
the balance definitely.
budget. I saw a whole bunch of budgets here.
I've just been working on, the budget, so that one you have right there is the most recent. The other ones, I just,
Those are all summaries. And, okay.
summaries and other budgets.
Okay. How's our wetland fund doing? You keeping track of it still? At least through a spreadsheet?
I am keeping track of it. I did put a request into the comptroller's office to have the munis generate a report. They've just been really busy with all the holidays. We have short weeks. Payroll has to get out sooner, so it's just kind of put on the back burner, but I will get one of those for you.
If you can have it by the next meeting, that would be great.
They still won't grant you access to Munis, even though?
I have access to munis for these accounts, but the wetland protection account, I don't have access to that in munis.
Can we just ask somebody, write a letter to the mayor asking for her to get access? I mean, there's no reason why conservation
Control
region
of it, correct.
can't even view the balance of the conservation wetland.
Right.
I guess the way it was explained to me is that there was an issue where someone viewed it incorrectly, you know, years ago, and it caused a lot of problems. So now just the comptroller.
Well, view is view.
Right. No, they viewed it incorrectly, and Munis is very complicated to work through. Like there's different buttons and not clicks, but there's different buttons and different orgs and objects, and if you do it incorrectly, it can make it seem like you have nothing in your account. It took me probably 2 hours to generate those reports correctly, because sometimes you can view it, it'll say 0% used of your budget, which obviously is incorrect. Just with the different buttons you can click, you can do, you know, don't show any cent values. It can really skew the view that you get. So it's, for something like that account, which is pretty sensitive, you know, the comptroller wants to have just someone who knows how to print the report do it, so that it's not putting out incorrect information. If that makes sense.
Couldn't he just show you how to do it? I mean, it seems like there's a lot of excuses not to let us see the balance of that budget, that account.
Right.
I mean, the fact that
Well,
somebody may have
that
viewed
was
it
explained to
incorrectly
me,
in
that
the
someone
past.
did it in the past and it caused a lot of problems, and so they just handled it since then, just to kind of
Yeah,
not have any, you know, incorrect information out there. I was definitely talk to Mr. Richards and see if he'd show me how to view it.
Yeah, it's just,
I mean, you could develop a work instruction.
On the other accounts.
Yeah, it just doesn't make
Should everything
sense.
be-
right.
I mean, all you have to do is have him show you, write a work instruction, have him approve it, and then you use that every time. I mean, that's how.
I mean, we have, I mean, our last 2 or 3 agents have been tracking incoming and outgoing with a spreadsheet. So if you pull the report and it's off by $50,000, I think the first thing you would do is go right to the controller and say, did I do this wrong? I mean, I think we just want to know, you know. I mean, it might be, the problem, I guess my question, I think it'd be back by Larry, was if we want to know next meeting, if he doesn't get it to you, we can't see it. where if you pulled it and we're supposed to have 70,000 and this 69,500, then we probably wouldn't argue, you know what I mean? We'd be like, okay, at least we're close and we'll, you know,
Follow, yeah.
follow up or whatever, so. I see their point,
Like,
but.
you can most definitely talk to him as well, like.
So, yeah, I mean, I would say it'd be nice to get, if it means writing a letter to whoever, we'll write a letter and I'll sign it, and that's fine. But you're just viewing it, you're not adjusting
Yeah.
anything, and you're not,
Like,
you know.
just,
It's just-
you only access it. I mean, I've never used it, so I don't know.
Like, there's different warrant periods, and you put, like, the wrong number in, it can generate an entirely different,
Right, but
It's-
it's not actually, like, editing it, like,
it's not editing anything, but it can, with a report you print out with
Right,
like,
can be
incorrect, and people
incorrect.
can panic. and-
They just don't want you
Right.
to show up to this meeting and
On a, yeah, it's
on
always been
televised
correct.
things and
So
say,
it's better,
hey,
it's
there's
easier
only
for them if they-
$8,000.
Just so they can be sure it's correct.
Yeah. But I mean,
You
if
know, they've
you,
had the, the 7-hour training unit as well, we
yeah.
get the.
But yeah, but I mean, just having, you could develop work instructions and you would do it the same every time. You
Right.
just
Click this,
follow,
click this.
step one, yeah, step two, do this,
if
step
you
three, do
make a
this.
mistake, just like, you say, I don't have it for this meeting, I have to fix it, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I give us that, something,
Yeah.
ask them again.
Just
Yeah,
see.
because like, this doesn't make sense.
It'd be easy, because that's usually the fund we're always looking at, so.
And just the answers, that Mr. Stone had from the last meeting about, having encumbrances taken from the account. As far as they know, it doesn't have to go before city council, for a vote, like we had discussed. And then I did discuss it, with Mr. Richards, that thing, I showed him the articles that you gave me, and I did discuss with him about the money that was taken out. His idea was, I know it is kind of specialized equipment that's needed for my job, because if I'm at a site visit, or I have a meeting with the engineer after hours, because of the way my hours work, the engineers here, the meeting gives me a check, I need somewhere to lock the check, or I have files I need to lock in the desk. That was his thinking, that it does qualify as specialized equipment.
Desk?
That was his,
Yeah, no.
That's a stretch.
so I just,
You go to Home Depot and buy a padlock, a little bolt, lock
it
the
won't
thing.
work on my desk, because my desk is broken, so.
Yeah, no, it doesn't pass the specialized equipment test. I mean, clearly it says office furniture is not specialized equipment. I mean, it's-
So a desk
because
is
it has-
still a
because it
desk,
has-
even if it has a...
Right.
A desk with a lock doesn't become a lockbox.
It doesn't become a specialized, right. Yeah.
So what would the commission need to do then, because,
Request that the money be returned to the wetland?
Yep. You want to vote on that, or?
Yeah.
We can.
I'll make a motion to request the comptroller or someone in the city of Leominster to return the money that was removed from the wetland fund without approval for the purchase of a desk. Is it just a desk? Or two desks?
I think it's
two desks and
desks.
printer.
Two desks,
Yeah.
printer.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. And the city doesn't have an office supply line item for a new desk that you can get from the city?
They're not even that old.
No, but they're not very well made, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're,
No, I mean, I'm not gonna argue whether the desk is broken or not. What I'm
Right.
saying is if she comes in and her desk collapses, what happens if the mayor's desk collapsed? Do they take it out of another fund? I'm sure they must have a city hall office supply.
no, each department has their own fund.
How are public buildings maintained? Is
Through the
typical-
building department.
Right, so, yeah, it's probably an account in there for any type of.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
As far as that, each furniture comes through their own departments that they have leftover. If someone wants a new desk, usually they wait to the end of the year if they have any leftover money in the account, they can use it for that, but typically it's not built into the budget unless you get it, I guess, from free, I don't want to say from free money, but from one of the other accounts through the city council.
Right. Because that goes back to, $600 for office supplies. Well, you buy some ink, that chews up a couple $100.
Yeah.
That goes back to the original question, beginning when Larry's like, is that enough money?
So it sounds like we need more money in office supplies. And we could put it in the budget for next year for office furniture. So we just put it, it doesn't have to be in there every year, but if we need it, it can be put in the budget.
Yeah,
And they can,
if that's the only way to do it, that's,
and it can be, when it's made a line item, because you're gonna have to present before city council, you can say that it's in here as a one-time expense because, you know, there's 2 desks that need to be replaced.
they need locks, they need their
Yeah.
disrepair, they're broken, they're blah, blah, blah.
I mean, Hall's not gonna say no to a line item for 2 desks for an office that,
Right, right,
I mean, that's what that budget's for.
right. And $600 is not gonna cover 2 desks plus all the annual
Yeah, no,
printer inks and all that other
no.
fun stuff.
Right.
So,
That's why, and if that number isn't high enough, then it should be an increase, you know?
Yeah.
Because we've asked for that in the past, and, you know, a lot of times they say no, they'll, you know, just, you'll have to take it from another account. You know, but, I mean, I understand that they're trying to keep budgets down, but, you know, if the mayor's desk broke tomorrow, I don't think he would go a year without a desk. You know, if in city council, if that big U-shaped thing that they use, if something happened and was structurally unsafe and had to be replaced, there would be money.
My desk is instructed and safe, it's just the doors don't close, so I couldn't add a lock to it, you know,
Right.
it should have a lock in the
Yeah.
desk.
Right,
Especially where if there's money coming into the office.
correct, correct. So,
Does the, yeah, I don't know. Can the bridges be repaired? I mean, if it's
I
a
had the
drawer,
city hall handyman look at it, unfortunately, it's not really, it's not soft, it's not like
it's like
wood.
particle board. but
Yeah,
it's-
he's like, it would probably split if you tried to drill anything in it,
Yeah.
right.
make it worse.
All right, see what you can do, find some money. I think that's the better way to go. Agents report,
None at this time.
I do not have a chairman's report. Our next meeting is Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019, with a deadline of January 10th, 2019 at noon, it says, which is, what, 2 days from now? So, anything else anybody would like to discuss? And with that, this meeting is adjourned.